Hello, Elaine.
Yes, sir. Should we start?
How many are there in offline?
Sir, I'm in my office. I didn't go to the classroom.
Okay, we can start.
Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the director, Professor Sandeep Garg, and the members of the institution's Innovation Council, Goa University, it is my privilege to welcome each and every one of you to the celebration of the National Science Day 2022. In keeping with the theme of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav that commemorates the 75 years of India's independence, the glorious history of her people, their culture, and achievements, in today's session, we aim to highlight the 75 years of India's scientific achievements in physical and agricultural sciences. For this, we have with us today two distinguished professionals from the respective fields. The first, Professor Ramesh Pai from the School of Physical and Applied Sciences, Goa University. And the second speaker is Dr. R. Ramesh from ICAR, Goa. With this, I would like to formally welcome our two speakers to this session. Welcome, sir. To introduce Professor R.V. Pai, he is a theoretical physicist and currently serves as the Vice Dean of Academics at the School of Physical and Applied Sciences, Goa University. His research interests are in condensed matter physics, and he studies interacting bosons in optical lattices. Um, yeah, I lost network. Paisa, are you on the call? No, he would have all. But
Yes, please continue.
yeah, sir, I don't know if we lost power in the department, so I don't know if Paisa is on the call. Paisa? I'll just check.
He
In his
lost
office.
the connection.
Yes, we don't have power in the department. I'll just check in his office. Just give me a minute. Sorry about that. Poiser will join us in a few minutes.
Elaine,
So, yes.
after he finishes, then
Yeah.
we will introduce the second speaker.
Yes, sir. Yes. Uh, yeah, so Poiser, welcome to the
Can you hear
session.
me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I request all the other participants to kindly mute your microphone and video. Any questions, you can enter them in the chat box and sir will check them at the end of the talk.
So I'll start.
Yes, sir. You can share your screen.
Okay. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. You can make it in full screen.
I have made it in full screen. It's still not in full screen there.
No, sir.
I don't know how to make it full screen. Hmm. I'll just make it bigger.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes, sir.
Sir, it will cut the slide. I think
Oh
you have
yes,
to
I know that.
you can share your screen, entire screen.
Okay. 1 minute.
Rather than
I'll
win-
stop. I'll stop and then I will try again. Entire screen, and then now it's better.
Yes, sir. It's fine.
Full screen now.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Eileen, for the introduction, as well as the Goa University IIC team to give me this opportunity to give a talk on the Science Day. So I was being asked to give 75 years of India's achievements and innovation in physical science. So I will start with some of the policies the government of India started way back in 1958. In fact, there were four major policies that have been implemented since independence. First one being 1958, followed by 1983, 2003, and 2013. I'll briefly give you the motivation and the impact of each of these major policies, and then followed by I will pick up three areas where what kind of progress India has made since the independence. 1958 Science Policy Resolution. The motivation has been to nurture the scientific enterprise and scientific temper. Science and technology is seen as the instrumental for socio-economic transformation and the nation building. You may recollect that 1958 means we are just about 11 years after independence. The silent features were cultivation of scientific enterprises in pure and applied sciences, research capability building, opportunities for scientific activity, discovery, and dissemination of new knowledge. The impact of this scientific policy has been emergence of several scientific organizations and national laboratories. As you may recollect, the CSIR lab all started after this policy was introduced. Strong foundation in R&D and higher education. Science Policy Resolution 1958 captured the vision of India as a welfare state and largely emphasized the basic research in almost every field of science. Am I still on? The power went and came back?
Yes, sir. You're there.
Okay. Yeah, by 1980, India has developed advanced scientific and technological infrastructure in the area of space, industrial research, nuclear energy, defense research, biotechnology, agriculture, and health, to name few. Subsequently, with the focus to achieve the technological competence and the self-reliance through the promotion and development of ingenious technologies, the technology policy statement was launched in 1983. The main motivation for this policy statement was technology seen to influence the life and the bolster the societal expectations, focus on meeting people aspiration through technological development. The silent features maximize utilization of local human and material resources, strengthen technological self-reliance in new sectors, information, electronics, and biotechnology. Establishment of Technology Development Fund and establishment of Technology Information Forecasting Assessment Council, TIFAC, were the major impact of Technology Policy Statement 1983. Economic liberalization and globalization brought new challenges and opportunities in science and technology. From 2000 onwards, India focused on the conversion of knowledge into wealth and value, addressing socio-economic needs of the country, and to amalgamate science, technology, and innovation. Accordingly, Science and Technology Policy 2003 brought together the area of science and technology with the aim of increasing the investment required for R&D and innovation in the areas impacting the economy and society. Science and Technology Policy 2003, recognition of science and technology enterprises is intertwined and inextricable. Unprecedented impact of growth in information technology and democratization of the internet on social economic growth and development. This is the time of the internet age. Call to the investment heavily in R&D, goal to increase investment in R&D to 2% of GDP, modernize science and technology infrastructure in academic institutions, incentives returns of scientific and engineers trained abroad to contribute to the Indian R&D ecosystem. Impact, scientific rise in R&D investment, 0.7% of the GDP at the end of 10 years period. Rise in India's publication ranking, steady increase in infrastructure and human capacity. Many ICARs as well as new IITs were started during this period. The decade of 2010 to 2020 was declared as the decade of innovation with the agenda to create 21st century national innovation ecosystem, to build innovative institutions and mindsets for national progress. Keeping this in mind, Science, Technology, Innovation Policy 2013 was formulated with the aim of positioning India among the top 5 global scientific powers. 2010-20 announced a decade of innovation, that's the motivation, intent to synergize science, technology, and innovation to transition to the knowledge-based economy. Aim to position India among the top 5 global scientific powers were the motivation for this policy. Silent features, innovation is the key. Am I still there? Elaine? Oh.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. I'm back. Power is keep fluctuating here. The silent features are innovation is the key to building science and technology lead innovation ecosystem, attracting private sector into R&D, linking science, technology, innovation to socio-economic priorities. Impact, a setup in the right direction towards building a robust national innovation ecosystem. India's leadership and participation in global mega science initiative. The science, technology, and innovation ecosystems in India includes universities, public as well as private enterprises, and human resources. We have over 48,000 colleges now, 9,000 universities, and around 2,000 research and development institutions. Some of the top scientists, technologists, and CEOs of the world have been beneficiaries of our science and policy ecosystem. This has made possible through implementation of robust policies by the central as well as state government over the years. With all these policies and the developments, I will focus in my talk the progress which we made in atomic energy program, the space program, and the supercomputing mission which started in 80s. I'll briefly go through from where we started after the independence and where we are today in each of these three areas. Shortly after the independence, a group of Indian scientists led by physicist Homi Bhabha, sometimes called the Indian Oppenheimer, convinced the Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru to invest in the development of nuclear energy. Subsequent 1948 Atomic Energy Act created the Indian Atomic Energy Commission. This was to provide for the development and control of atomic energy and the purposes concerned therewith. Intensify the effort to exploit the nuclear energy for the benefit of the nation. Dr. Bhabha established the Atomic Energy Establishment, Rombe, AEET, in January 1954 for a multidisciplinary research program essential for the ambitious nuclear program of India. After the sad demise of Bhabha in 1966, AEET was renamed Bhabha Atomic Research Center, or BARC as we call it. BRC was initially manned by a small band of around 130 scientists and technicians. It has grown over the years to become the foremost institution of science and technology in the country. Now, BRC has a staff around 10,000, of whom 3,000 are scientists. And the majority of these scientists and engineers are graduates of the training school set up at the center in 1957. This is for the students, because those who want to join the atomic energy program, one path is to apply to this training school, and they conduct the exam every year. And successful completion of this training school, you will be appointed as a scientist at various centers in BRC. India entered the atomic age, more correctly the nuclear age, on 4th August 1956, when Apsara, India's first nuclear reactor, went into operation. This reactor was designed and built by India with the nuclear fuel supplied from the United Kingdom under a lease agreement. Some of the photos which I have given in the slides corresponds to the Apsara nuclear reactor. The second reactor for the research purpose, the Cyrus, was built with the cooperation from Canada and went into operation in the early 60s. The research reactors were a platform for conducting research in nuclear physics, neutron physics, studies in the behavior of material under neutron irradiation, neutron diffraction, for example, and production of radioisotope for application in the field of medicine, agriculture, and industry. Cyrus reactor proved to be the excellent platform for training the engineers and the scientists, and in understanding the intricacies of managing natural uranium, heavy water, reactor system, which eventually evolved into India's pressurized heavy water reactor program. After 50 years of successful operation, CIRUS was shut down permanently in 2010. During the early 70s, a strong need was felt for building a research reactor with higher neutron flux to meet the growing demand of the radioisotopes and advanced research in basic sciences. This led to setting up of research reactor at BRC, which was named Dhruva by the then President of India, Dr. Gyani Sail Singh. Construction of Dhruva was an important milestone in the development and implementation of ingenious nuclear reactors in India. Over 75 radioisotopes produced for various applications. 10 lakh plus patients benefited annually across 120 nuclear medicine centers. 400 plus radio immunology labs. These are some of the byproduct of radioisotope production by the research reactors of BRC. Dhruva reactor at BARS for medical isotope production ran at highest capacity in 2016-17. Some of the application in healthcare. Everyday applications of radiation medicine help millions of patients worldwide. Some technologies enable physicians to see inside the human body, creating digital images using short-lived radioisotopes. These are called the diagnostic techniques. Others which enable targeted and precise radiation treatment of cancer and therapeutic techniques. For example, external beam therapy, brachytherapy, nuclear medicine, then radiation sterilization of healthcare product. Research reactor was not the only mandate for the BRC or the atomic program. It was also to deal with the nuclear energy. Electricity production using nuclear energy commenced in October 1969 when 2 reactors at Tarapur were put into service. The Tarapur Atomic Power Station, TAPS, was built by General Electricals in USA, is now still running in 53rd years of service. Tarapur supplies the lowest cost of non-hydroelectric power in the country. For example, we have our power generation. 59.7% is the fossil fuel. Renewable energy source, that is hydro, solar, wind, etc., adding together about 38.6. Nuclear gives us about 1.7% of the energy production. Kalpakum nuclear power plant designed and built by India is one of the examples. As of January 2022, total installation capacity of nuclear stand at 6,780 megawatts. 10 more reactors are under construction, which will double our nuclear energy production once the reactors are completed. There are also nuclear weapon program initiated by the BARC. In September 1972, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi officially approved a nuclear test after touring the BARC. Raja Ramanna was the principal designer of the first nuclear device. He says, there was never a discussion among us over whether we should make the bomb. How to do it was more important. For us, it was a matter of prestige that would justify our ancient past. The question of deterrence came much later. As Indian scientists, we were keen to show our Western counterparts who thought little of us those days that we too can do it. Ramanna led a BRC team of approximately 75 scientists who designed and built the plutonium implosion devices. On May 18, 1974, The 3,000-pound device imploded with a force equivalent of 8 kiloton of TNT. Ramana reportedly informed Gandhi on the successful test through a coded message. The Buddha is smiling. This was a picture of Indira Gandhi visiting the site many years later. Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee explained India's motivation to develop nuclear weapon at a UN meeting in 1997. He says, I quote, I told President Clinton that when my third eye, an old Indian proverb, looks at the door of the Security Council chamber, it sees a little sign that says only those with economic power or nuclear weapons allowed. I said to him, it's very difficult to achieve economic wealth, which indirectly he meant that he's going to go for nuclear weapon. Physicist Rajagopala Chidambaram, the head of the PRC, was soon authorized to proceed with the additional nuclear test. Operation Shakti, also known as Pokhran 2, took place on May 11, 1998, declaring India as a nuclear power country. Enhancing, so over the years, starting from a small beginning till today, BRC or the Department of Atomic Energy has enhanced the share of nuclear power in the power sector, building and operating research reactors for production of our radioisotopes, developing advanced technologies, carrying out and supporting basic research in nuclear energy and related frontier area of science. The next area I want to touch upon is the Indian space program. Organized space research in India was spearheaded by two scientists, Vikram Sarabhai, founder of the PRL, Physical Research Laboratory at Ahmedabad, and Homi Bhabha, who established TIFR, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, in 1945. Indian Space Research Organization is a national space agency of India headquartered in Bangalore. The Indian Council Committee for Research, Space Research was established by Jawaharlal Nehru under the Department of Atomic Energy in 1962 on urging of scientist Vikram Sarabhai, recognizing the need in space research. INSCOPAR grew and became the ISRO in 1969. This is the first rocket launched by ISRO. It was a Tumba, a plot donated by a church there, Latin church. It was Mary Magdalene Church. They fired the sounding rocket to learn about the rocket technology. It was happened in 21st November 1963. This was the beginning. After Sarabhai passed away in his sleep in December 1971, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi chose Satish Dhawan to be the successor. Satish Dhawan was at that time director of IISc. It was his request that the headquarters of ISRO was shifted from Ahmedabad to Bangalore. Most of the people are aware about Vikram Sarabhai, but not many are aware of Dhawan, who was the man who created the real structure of the ISRO that you see today, says Dr. Manoranjan, who produced a coffee table book to commemorate 75 years of space research. Sarabhai laid the foundation of ISRO, and the Dhawan continued to build on it. He joined the Soviet Union's Cosmos program for Space Corporation and got his first satellite, Aryabhatta, in orbit through a Soviet rocket. Effort to develop an orbital launch Effort to develop an orbital launch vehicle began after mastering sounding rocket technology. SLV, capable of putting 70 kilo into 400 kilometer orbit, launch pad, other ground station, tracking network, radars, and other communication were set up for the launch campaign. First successful launch was in 1980, carrying Rohini Series 1 satellite, making India the 7th country to reach Earth orbit after USSR, USA, France, United Kingdom, China, and Japan. Effort to develop a medium lift launch vehicle capable of putting 600 kilo class spacecrafts into 1000 kilometer unsynchronized orbit was already beginning in 1978, which would later lead to the development of PSLV. Parallelly, another solid fuel rocket, augmented satellite launching vehicle based upon SLV-3 was being developed, technologies to launch satellites into geostationary orbits. Along with that technologies, INSAR system of communication of satellites started. Indian remote sensing IRS program for Earth observation satellites are developed and launched from overseas were also initiated. Arrival of PSLV in 90s became the major boost for Indian space program. With the exception of its first flight in 1994 and two parallel failures later, partial failures later, PSLV had a streak of more than 60 successful flights. PSLV enabled India to launch all its low Earth orbit satellites, small payloads to GTO and hundreds of foreign satellites. The Geosynchronized Satellite Launch Vehicle, GSLV, project was initiated in the 90s with the objectives of acquiring an Indian launch capability for geosynchronized satellites. As of August 12, 2021, rockets from GSLV family have made 14 launches, resulting in 8 successes, 4 failures, and 2 partial failures. Performing high-resolution remote sensing of the moon in visible, near-infrared, low-energy X-ray and high-energy X-ray region was the main motivation for the Chandrayaan-1 mission. Dr. M. Annadurai was the project coordinator. He is presently heading the ISRO. One of the objectives was to prepare a 3-dimensional atlas of both near and far side of the moon. The aim at conducting chemical, mineralogical mapping of the entire lunar surface for distribution of mineral and chemical elements such as magnesium, aluminum, silicon, calcium, iron, titanium, as well as high atomic number elements such as radon, uranium, thorium, with high spatial resolution. The water was on moon was first discovered by this Chandrayaan-1 mission. The moon impact probe was detached from the orbiting Chandrayaan spacecraft and deorbited. It hard landed on the design spot on the moon. During the descent, it was spin stabilized and was performing experiments on the lunar atmosphere. It detected water in vapor form in trace amounts. This amazing discovery was confirmed by J.P. Brown University payload moon neurology mapper M3. M3 detected spectral lines near the wavelength in the range of 2.8 to 3 micron, a property attributed to water and hydroxyl ion. It is believed that the formation of hydroxyl ions and the water molecules on the lunar surface is an ongoing process. Chandrayaan-2 mission is a highly complex mission. After the successful Chandrayaan-1 mission, India took the Chandrayaan-2 mission. This mission represents a significant technological leap compared to the previous missions of ISRO, which brought together an orbiter, a lander, and a rover with the goal of exploring south pole of the moon. This was a unique mission with aims of studying not just one area of the moon, but all the areas combining the exosphere, the surface, as well as the subsurface of the moon in a single mission. The spacecraft was launched on its mission on the moon from the second launch pad at the Satish Dhawan Space Center in Andhra Pradesh on 22nd July 2019. Dr. Vinita Mukaya was the project coordinator of Chandrayaan-2. The craft reached the moon orbit on 20 August 2019 and began orbiting positioning maneuvers for the landing of the Vikram lander. The lander and the rover were scheduled to land on the near side of the moon at the south polar region at an altitude of around 70 degrees south on 6 September 2019. However, lander crashed when it deviated from its intended trajectory while attempting to land on 6 September 2019. ISRO will reattempt a landing in August 22 with Chandrayaan-3 program. After the inquiry, it was found that there was a small software glitch which created this disaster result. Indian Regional National Navigation Satellite Systems. After the US refused to help India with the global positioning system during the Kargil War, ISRO was induced to develop its own satellite navigation system, which is called IRNSS. IRNSS is an independent satellite-based navigation system to provide positioning, navigation, and timing services for users over Indian regions. The system is designed with a constellation of 7 spacecraft and a vast majority of the network of ground system operating. Unique geostationary Earth orbit, GEO, geosynchronized orbit, constellation design providing a position accuracy of better than 50 meters for longer duration of 20 hours in a day, even with 4 satellites. The 4 satellites have been already launched. 3 more are pending. The accuracy is much better for the defense purposes. This is for the common people accuracy. Finally, I come to the Mars orbiter mission. Dr. V. Kesavaraju was the project director of this mission, marking the India's first venture into interplanetary space. India is the first Asian nation to reach Martian orbit and the first nation in the world to do so in its maiden attempt. PSLV C-25, 25th flight of the PSLV, launched Mars orbital mission spacecraft from the first launch pad at Satish Dhawan Space Center, SAR, Sriharikota. This is the orbit which this spacecraft is supposed to take. The challenging PSLV C-25 mission was optimized the launch of Mars orbiter mission spacecraft into a highly elliptical orbit, Earth orbit, with the perigee nearest point of the Earth around 250 km and apogee furthest point on Earth around 23,500 km, with an inclination of 19.2 degree with respect to the equator. Mars orbiter mission completes 7 years of orbiting the red planet on September 24, 2021. Though it was initially thought of lasting for a few months, the Mars mission is still working after 7 years. These are some of the scientists who are involved in the Mars mission. So, last 50 years, the ISRO Indian space program had made a big leap from a small beginning on the church campus to the Mars moon mission, MOM. Today ISRO has spread over all over India with its various centers and activities. This map just show how far the ISRO has grown. Excuse me. The mission, the National Supercomputing Mission. The mission envisages empowering our national academics and R&D institutions spread over the country by installation a vast supercomputing grid comprising more than 70 high-performance computing facilities. These supercomputers will be networked on a national supercomputing grid over the National Knowledge Network, NKN. NKN is another program of the government which connects academic institutions and R&D labs over the high-speed network. Goa University has been a beneficiary of the NKN. Our internet is through the NKN network. The society was created in November 1988 as the Center for Development of Advanced Computing Technology. In 1988, US government refused to sell India a Cray computer, which was supposed to be purchased for the climate prediction. Their concern was that India may use this to develop nuclear weapons. In response, India started developing its own superconductor, and CDAC was created as a part of this program. Dr. Vijay K. Bhatkar was the project coordinator and the founder executive director of the CDAC. Param 8000, this is the supercomputer name which CDAC has given. India's first gigascale supercomputer in 1990 built from scratch. The Param 8000 was noted to be 28 times more powerful than the Cray XMP that the government originally requested for a cost of $10 million. The computer was a success and was exported to Germany, United Kingdom, and Russia. Apart from taking over the home market, Param attracted 14 other buyers with a relatively low price tag of just $350,000 at a fraction of cost of the Cray machine. Then came the Param 10,000, which was a 100 gigaflop supercomputer in 1998. Param Padma with 1 teraflop in 2002. This was India's first supercomputer to enter the top 500 list of supercomputers of the world, which was ranked 171 in June 2003. Param Yuva with 54 teraflop supercomputing in 2008, ranked 69 in November 2008. Param Yuva 2, which was 529 teraflops, again ranked 69. Param Bichrome was especially for bioinformatic applications. Param BioBlaze, the supercomputing facility with the peak computing power of 10.65 teraflop, was launched in February 2014 to address the challenges in bioinformatics. There was also another development, that is Param Shavak, that is the computer solution in a box. Supercomputer in a box system is a tabletop model powered with 2 multi-core CPUs each with minimum 12 crore numbers of accelerator cards. 3 teraflop peak computing power with 8 TB of storage. Easy to deploy solution with no additional data center infrastructure. Preloaded with parallel programming development tools and libraries. Pre-installed tool for scheduling and resource management. At the present, latest supercomputer from CDAC is the Param Pravega. It's a supercomputer installed at IIC under National Supercomputer Mission. It runs on Send OS 7X, has 4 petabytes of storage, and it has a peak computing power of 3.3 pentaflop. Remember that penta means 10 to the power 15 flops. That means 10 to the power 15 operations per second, floating operations per second. CDAC also has other missions. High performance grid and cloud computing is one of that. Multilingual computing and heritage computing. Professional electronic VLSI and embedded systems. Software technologies including FOSs. Cyber security with informatics. And finally, education and training. This is especially for the students. CDAC offer many diploma programs as well as degree programs. Those who are interested to join these supercomputing programs, they can look at the CDAC website for the details. With this, I'll stop here. If any questions, I'm free to take. Thank you. Elaine, you can take over.
Yes, thank you, sir. Does anyone have any question? No questions, sir.
Okay.
Yeah. Komal?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So, on behalf of the IIC committee, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Ramesh Pai, Professor, School of Physical and Applied Sciences, Goa University, for this engaging lecture. It was truly an enlightening one. Sir spoke about various science policies put forward to propel India's growth in science and technology, and also shed light on current status of science and technology ecosystem of country. Sir talked about progress made in the fields of Indian Atomic Energy Program, Space Program, as well as National Supercomputing Mission, starting from the initial stages of development to the application and importance in the recent time. Sir also highlighted the contribution of numerous known as well as lesser known scientists in all this field. We are very thankful, sir, for this interesting session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I'll
Dr.
now
Pai.
disconnect.
Thank you for your valuable time and sharing the experience.
Thank
Elaine?
you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We'll just wait.
I
Yes.
leave my talk now.
Okay. Yeah, sir, Ramesh sir has
Elaine,
joined also.
we
Yeah,
are not
Ramesh,
able to hear. Oh,
yeah, Ramesh sir has joined the call.
yes. Dr. Ramesh has
Yeah.
joined. We can
We can start, right?
I think.
Yeah. Yeah, so our next speaker is Dr. R. Ramesh, a principal scientist in plant pathology at ICAR, Central Coastal Agricultural Research Institute at Old Goa. His research interests include bacterial diseases in crops and their management, biological control of plant pathogens using endophytic and rhizobacterial antagonists, as well as developing biological formulations. I welcome Dr. R. Ramesh to this session and request him to take over the session.
So good afternoon. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. I just share my presentation. Yeah. Are you seeing my presentation?
Yes, sir. Can you please make it in full screen mode?
Okay. Yeah. Is my presentation visible to everyone?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Uh, can I start my talk now?
Yes, yes, Sandeep sir, we can start, right?
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon to all. My talk is on the topic of 75 years of India's achievements and innovations in agricultural sciences. Uh, okay, so to know about what are all the innovations that shaped Indian agriculture, just we have to go through a journey about uh, the historical perspective, how the research system in agriculture science evolved, and what has been achieved, and okay, where we are now. So I will be going through status of Indian agriculture, history of agriculture research, and national agriculture research system, green revolution and the journey upwards, animal husbandry and milk revolution, fisheries and blue revolution, mechanization in agriculture, information and communication technologies in agriculture, ICAR technologies, to few case studies, agribusiness incubators, and what are the future prospects. So, agriculture development is an integral part of the overall economic growth of the country, and it is the main source of national income and occupation at the time of independence. It contributed around 50% of India's national income, and 72% of the total working population were engaged in agriculture during that time. Even though the contribution of agriculture to national GDP is decreasing over the years, still it remains as the major force in the country. So even during the COVID times, the agriculture has sustained its growth momentum, showing around 4% growth. And India has almost 160 million hectares of arable land, means cultivable land, and it has 15 prominent climatic zones and 46 soil types out of 60 soils which are reported in the world. So we have a very blessed country. So, okay, we'll start with how is the agriculture during independence time. So after centuries of subjugation and economic strife, India started its journey as a newborn nation on 15th August 1947. It was very deeply wounded by partition. It faced with crumbling economy and abysmal poverty. More than 70% of the people during that time were poor. And food grain production in 1947 was just 45 million metric tons. So a lot of, you see one of the images of Bengal famine, it's just depicted everywhere, you can check it out. So the Bengal famine, though the cause of famine is debatable, but it resulted in starvation death of people. So almost certain estimates say more than 2 to 3 million deaths, 4, 5, so approximately 2 to 3 million deaths the Bengal famine caused due to starvation. Then the food shortage and negligible foreign exchange reserves made India heavily dependent on aid from USA under PL 480 program during the period 1956 to 59 and 1960 to 65. So during that times, visit or arrival of ship is made headlines in All India Radio and newspapers, because arrival of ship, then people will get at least a meal. So that was the condition during that time. So the situation again worsened in 1965 and 66 due to back-to-back droughts, and the grain production significantly fell by 17 million metric tons. That is 89 to 72 million tons. And it's caught in an unprecedented ship to mouth. So one ship comes, some food goes to our mouth. So that was the condition, India's condition. So that was called by some people, it's a begging bowl. India was a begging bowl. So it was even predicted that recurring famines and acute food shortages would push India towards a disaster in the years to come. So that was the situation in 60s, or especially 59, 60s. Then that name called Green Revolution. So deficiency to sufficiency, and India became the bread basket. The quote by Norman Borlaug, who was the father of Green Revolution and the Nobel laureate, is, "Civilization as it's known today could not have evolved, nor can it survive without adequate food supply. So that was the basis. Forest green revolution, though there are many factors, the major one remains a technological innovation that transformed India from a begging bowl to a breadbasket during 60s. So it happened due to the introduction of high-yielding varieties of wheat, rice, that unleashed, you can say that in northern India, the green revolution. The seeds though the seeds were imported ones, but these technologies very well supported by appropriate policies on prices, inputs like fertilizers, and policies like land ownership, and the infrastructure project like irrigation and financial help through the credits. So these all things made green revolution a possible one. And the adoption of technologies over time through domestic network of research and extension under Indian Council of Agriculture Research and state agriculture universities. That is the main implementing agency for this green revolution. You can see that Norman Borlaug visiting India. Here Norman Borlaug with MS Swaminathan, who is the father of green revolution in India. And to remember that event, even India released a postal stamp on green revolution. There are other major agriculture revolutions. One of them is the white revolution. There is the milk production, 1970s and 80s. Silver revolution, poultry in 80s and 90s. Blue revolution, fisheries in 80s and 90s. Gene revolution, there's the harnessing the biotechnology for agriculture in 2000s. So these revolutions in agriculture transformed India from net importer of food to a self-sufficient agriculture economy. Over last 5 decades, total food production of grains have increased by more than 6 times. In the independence, it was 45 million metric tons, and now it is in the latest, it is 310 million metric tons. So this is possible just because all the efforts like technology, policies, credit, everything was put into place. So this particular graph, I want to show that you can see that around less than 50 million metric tons food grain is there. And this remained up to 1966. Before Green Revolution, it is around 70, maximum 60, 70. So during the period of growth, Green Revolution, the food production gradually increased. That it shows the agriculture growth is 3.3%. Even though population growth is 2.3%, agriculture growth was 3.3%. Whereas before Green Revolution era, agriculture growth is hardly 1.5%. And then during the economic reforms, India unleashed in 90s. So agriculture growth was remained the same, almost 3.7%, and population growth is 2.7%. And after reforms, there was slightly dip in 1 or 2 years due to drought and other things. Otherwise, it maintained a healthy 2.2%. Later than 2006, it's a recovery period that economists call. So agriculture growth was 3.6%, and of late, last year it was 4%. So you can see that around 47 to now 310 million metric tons food grain production was there. And we can correlate with that poverty rate. See, almost 70% in the independence time. So it has come slowly during economic reforms. Now almost it remains somewhere around 16 to 17%. So this is this graph clearly shows the impact of the Green Revolution in the food security of the country. And similarly, the availability of milk. You can see in 50s, milk production was hardly 20 million metric tons. Now you can see almost 350 million metric tons. And this increase slowly started with we can call this a milk revolution. This is the period Operation Flood. This is called as Operation Flood phase 1, 2, and 3. Till that time, government was having control. So its growth was little slow. But once the delicensing means the government has removed all the licensing issues, you can see the once the private sector involved, you can see very huge growth of milk sector. Now the per capita availability is almost 400 grams. Yeah. So by seeing the historical perspective, we'll now see what is today's position. So India has emerged as the world's largest producer of milk, cotton, spices, and pulses. It's the second largest producer of rice, wheat, fruits, and vegetables, third largest producer of eggs, fifth largest producer of poultry meat, and it has even emerged the largest exporter of rice, bovine meat, spices. All these things have become possible with innovations in technologies, institutional engineering, and right incentives. So now, as we celebrate the landmark 75th years of Indian independence, it's a historic point in time for us to celebrate our achievements as well as to reflect on how India's tryst with destiny has played out all these years. So know that where this research on agriculture or how it started there. So it can be broadly two categories: development during the colonial era or post-colonial India. So during colonial India means the British Raj, that time establishment of agriculture departments and colleges started. And during 1929, they started Imperial Council of Agriculture Research. Now it's become Indian Council of Agriculture Research. And initiation of commodity committees. Commodity means a crop-wise, tea board, coffee board, something like a rubber board, like commodity committees started. In post-colonial era, the project for intensification of regional research on cotton, oilseeds, and millets, and initiation of All India Coordinated Crop Improvement Project, research projects, and reorganization of ICAR and development of agriculture university. So these are all the broadly we can classify into two categories, how the research has been forwarded. And this is just a system shows how the National Agriculture Research System functions. It's all headed by ICAR, and another side agricultural universities, and third is the general universities, which are all having faculties or colleges of agriculture, and some voluntary and NGOs, and other government departments like CSIR, BRC, ICMR, ISRO. So they also nowadays conduct some research on agriculture. Now even now the IITs, they conduct research on agriculture. So this is how the National Agriculture Research System works. And in that, how the ICR fits. So India is one of the largest and institutionally well coordinated public agriculture system in the world. It's bigger than even United States. Historically, the Indian agriculture research system is a contribution of a process which started even in the 19th century, which resulted in the establishment of Imperial Council of Agriculture Research at the recommendation of Royal Commission of Agriculture in 1929. Since then, it has been evolved. So ICR is an autonomous organization under DARE, the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, and it was registered as a society and Societies Registration Act. So it's become now an autonomous organization. If you see that historical development of research, it goes even before ICAR. So in 1869, that Imperial Bacteriological Laboratory was established in Pune, and which was subsequently shifted to Mukteshwar, and now it's a unit of Indian Veterinary Research Institute, Bareilly. As I said, Indian Agriculture Research Institute, the premier institute in research of agriculture, is established in Pusa, Bihar, 1905, with a donation from Henry Pepys of USA. But there was a disaster earthquake in 1936, and then the institute was shifted to New Delhi, and today it's known as, still it's called, everybody calls it as a Pusa Institute, situated in Delhi. ICAR is responsible for planning, coordinating, and promoting agriculture research, technology development, knowledge dissemination, and education in the country. It also coordinates policy developments in agriculture research, education, and extension, and manages agriculture education to enable quality human resource development. It covers a broad range of categories like field crops, horticulture, natural resources, agricultural engineering, veterinary and animal science, and fisheries. It plays a major role in promoting excellence in higher education in the name of SAUs and the Central Agriculture Universities. So the country's agriculture education is coordinated by ICAR. So to brief, just say that ICAR has 102 institutions, 4 deemed universities like IAR, Indian Agriculture Research Institute, Indian Veterinary Research Institute, National Dairy Research Institute, Central Institute of Fisheries and Aquaculture. So fisheries education. And Research Institute 65, National Research Centers 14, National Bureau 6, Directorates 13, All India Coordinated Research Programs 82. And Agriculture Universities, Central Agriculture Universities 3, State Agriculture Universities 63, Central Universities with Agriculture Faculties 4. And Krishi Vinyan Kendra 725. The goal is 1 KVK per district. That is the government's goal. So 725 KVK. So these all policies and coordination is done by. So now you know that how big the network, that national agriculture research system is. So just show that here, these are all, you can the dot, wherever you see dot, where all ICAR institutes are present. So each and every state, every corner ICAR institutes are present. Similarly, in each state, there are either 1 or 2 agriculture universities. And certain states have 3, 4 universities as well. So this is to show how the network is widely spread. Manpower in only in ICAR, I say, scientific force 5,000 almost, technical posts some 4,500, administrative post 3,200, and support skill staff it is 3,800. This is 2020 data. So it's quite a huge network. And when we come, so now we know that what was the condition of agriculture during independence and how the national agriculture research system evolved and what is its current position or state. Now we come to the green revolutions. So ICAR played a major role in implementing the green revolution, and it introduced, developed, and widespread adoption of semi-dwarf, photo-insensitive, input-responsive, and high-yielding varieties of wheat and rice. Basically, green revolution started with only these 2 crops, wheat and rice. So because semi-dwarf, there are 2 varieties. One is Norrington and Techum native. These 2 were introduced and that were used in plant improvement in later stages. That led to the increased production. In that case, you can say that in just 4 years, 1966 to 1970, the wheat production is doubled from 11 million tons to 21 million tons. So that was the name given by William Gould as a green revolution. And I said already when postal stamp was issued. See that 80% during that green revolution period, 80% of the production gains were attributed to yield enhancements, the increase in the yield, indicating the role of technology. It transformed the nation from ship to mouth in 1960s to state of today we have a right to food. So that is the achievement of green revolution, which is backed up by technology. In that genetic enhancement, it is a major option to bridge the demand and supply gap. Research has contributed towards genetic alteration of crops, improving soil productivity, and controlling weeds, pests, diseases. And research programs are focused on cereals, oilseeds, pulses, fiber crops, forage crops, sugar crops, and horticultural crops. The new varieties not only give higher yield but also tolerate various biotic and abiotic stress due to environmental factors. The enhancement of productivity as well as nutrient content has also assumed significance in the recent years. You can see these are all high-yielding varieties of wheat, rice, groundnut. So I just indicated a few, but lot main. Yeah, here this just a gist I had given here. ICAR has released almost close to 6,000 varieties for cereals, oilseeds, pulses, fiber crops, forage crops, sugar crops, and other crops. This includes 55 varieties developed through marker-assisted selection using the latest biotechnological and molecular tools, and short duration varieties like in paddy, which requires lesser irrigation than the long duration variety, so that it saves water as well. And in horticulture, almost 1,600 high-yielding varieties and hybrids of fruits, vegetables, ornamental plants, spices, medicinal, aromatic mushrooms have been developed. Then in addition to that, the productivity of the crops like banana, grapes, onion, potato, cassava, cardamom, ginger, turmeric have also increased significantly. This is just the varieties of crops improved by ICAR system. There are other institutions like state agriculture university. Each state agriculture universities, they had their own share of varieties released and other technologies. BRC, Baba Atomic Research Center, they are doing a very wonderful work on especially pulses and oil seeds, variety contribution. In ICRISAT, it's a CGIAR institute. They also involved in working on 6 crops. So they also released some varieties. So in total, you can see that it's a very huge number of crops were improved and over the years, and good varieties are available right now. Then come, yeah, at the time of independence, the challenge was to provide adequate food to our growing population. Now the challenge is to provide a safer and nutritious food to promote a better. So this is a challenge to the agriculture research. Now it's quality rather than quantity. So quantity we have sufficient. The food FCI grounds are overflowing, so we need to have quality. In this regard, the data says the India accounts for largest number of undernourished people in the world, around 20 crores, and it has the highest share of stunted and wasted children globally. The FAO research, and India accounts for many things like malnutrition in the different categories like stunting, wasting, and underweight. So how to address these undernutrition issues? So in this only, this called biofortified varieties. So recently, 71 biofortified varieties in different crops were developed by ICAR to provide nutritious food. These crops are naturally fortified with vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and have reduced level of some of the anti-nutritional factors. These crops are reported to have 1.5 to 3 times higher level of protein, vitamins, minerals, amino acids than the commercially grown varieties. So in this regard, October 2020, Honorable Prime Minister of India dedicated 17 of these varieties to the nation. And these varieties have been brought under seed chain, means a lot of seeds have been produced and seeds were given to the farmers to grow. This is the public, and then food grains will be available in the public distribution system. As of now, it says these biofortified crops are grown around 4 million hectares in the country. Here are the list of crops which these biofortified varieties were developed. Rice 7, wheat 22, maize, pelmet. So you can see 1 or 2 even small sweet potato, 2 greater yam 1, pomegranate 1. You can see the higher anthocyanin content, rich in vitamin A, even potato rich in vitamin A. So, and the character wise means the attribute wise, protein content increased in 17 varieties, iron increased in 31 varieties, zinc increased in 28 varieties. So these are all the 3 important factors for malnutrition. So most of the varieties are concentrated on these nutrients. And some other institute like NABI, National Agri-Food Biotechnology Institute, Mogali, they also developed some colored biofortified color wheat which are rich in anthocyanins. And Prime Minister again released 35 climate resilient varieties which can be grown in even the stress conditions. So how these biofortified crop varieties to reach the public? So later, after releasing these varieties to the nation, the Prime Minister in his address on 15/21 made an important announcement to ensure portion to all the poor women and children of the country as part of National Nutrient Mission. So under various government support schemes like National Food Security Mission, ICDS, Midday Meal, he announced this fortified rice will be provided to all the poor by 2024. So this is a released by Department of Food and Public Distribution System. They say these food grains will be included in diets of vulnerable sections of the population, so that it may be a best way to adequately supplement these nutrition. Okay, after the food or nutrition, I come to climate. So climate change is inevitable. It's all, everyone is showing that. ICAR emphasized on developing good agriculture practices, precision farming, regional crop plans, climate resilient and water economizing technologies to enhance the productivity and income security to the farmers. So stress tolerance characters like disease resistance, drought tolerance, submergence tolerance were transferred to high-yielding crop varieties. About 1,000 climate-resilient varieties that can withstand various biotic stresses and abiotic stresses in different climatic and soil types have been developed during the period of 2015 to 2021. So there are some examples of biotic stress like insect pest disease. I see that rice is resistant to blast disease, bacterial blight resistant disease. There are vegetables which are all resistant to virus disease, leaf curl virus disease, bacterial wilt disease. There are so many varieties have been released to cope up with the biotic stress. Similarly, abiotic stress like salinity stress, where the saline areas are there are crop varieties which can withstand the salinity. Submergence, due to high rainfall, the paddy gets submerged, so it dies. So there are certain varieties which can withstand submergence. Then again, drought-resistant varieties. So similarly, there's many abiotic stress varieties, stress-resistant varieties were released. Then come to the gene revolution. ICAR focused on research on agri-genomics and genome editing. As everyone knows, the genome editing is a precision mutagenesis tool for genetic improvements. In that, there is one mega rice cultivar NUT 1010 was released, which is a transgene-free, and reference genomes of wheat, pigeon pea, and jute have been developed by scientists from India. It's available for everyone. And there is some SMP chip was developed for rice, which will be used for marker-assisted breeding in rice. And apart from that, there are quite a lot of microbial resources were developed, and it's available for research purposes in India. When I call about gene revolution, I just mentioned about genetically modified crops. Thus, the only crop which is allowed to grow commercially is BT cotton, which is resistant to the bollworm pest. So it was commercialized in 2002. There are many other things were available on the pipeline. For example, BT brinjal, it was submitted to GAC during 2009, but due to the moratorium of the government, it's not available for commercial cultivation, but neighboring countries they are going. This BT brinjal is resistant to the fruit borer. And high yielding mustard variety, DMH, released by Delhi University, and potato with high protein content. They call it a potato, and vitamin A rich golden rice. These are all some of the lines which are all in the pipeline. But everyone knows that GM, genetically modified crops, it requires government clearance. A lot of regulation issues are there. So it's all at the different phases of regulatory approval. And in genome level, there are a lot of infrastructure. So without infrastructure, the research will be, it's not complete. So a lot of infrastructure facilities funded by DBT, ICAR, they have been developed. There are even banana rich in vitamin A is developed by DBT Institute. So you can see that a lot of facilities were being developed so that the cutting edge technology research can be carried out by the scientists in the agriculture sector. Okay, in addition to the GMO and gene revolution, then quality standards, because there are certain things to be exported. So if you want to export it, you need a lot of standards for exporting our material to outside. So the standard were developed for apple, mango, grape, banana, mostly all the fruit crops. And using the biotechnology tools, I said brinjal and tomato transgenics have been developed. And importantly, the techniques for production of disease-free quality planting material is developed for fruit crops like citrus, banana, guava, potato, cassava, and sweet potato. Because these crops are propagated through either tubers or cutting. So if any disease, especially viral diseases, it spreads through the planting material, the entire crop will be lost after a few years. So there are techniques that were developed to produce a disease-free quality planting material, and micro-propagation techniques have standardized for some crops, because the micro-propagation will help in a smaller area, in a shorter period, you can produce a quality planting material which can be rapidly multiplied and used for planting. And then another aspect is plant protection. During mostly the Green Revolution times, plant protection is dependent mostly on chemical pesticides. So now we have slowly shifted to integrated pest management. And it aims the minimal use of chemical pesticides using alternate other methods and techniques. For example, Bacillus, that's a BT, Bacillus and neem-based pesticides are granted regular registration status under Insecticide Act, so anyone can buy and manufacture and sell it in India. And IPM modules have been used for pest management in basmati rice, because the basmati rice goes for export, and some of the exported commodities like the vegetables, fruits, pulses, we need to use IPM modules because they all require very, very stringent residual, means the presence of residual pesticide or something. So it is better to reduce the usage of pesticides. And in one of the important part in the IPM is implementation of ICT-based pest monitoring. So here are and information. Even recently, ICAR compiled the biopesticides and biofertilizers. These are all basically done by various institutes, and they compiled 31 biopesticides and 41 products. These all publications are available in public domain, so you can check that one. Then another thing is, so we are developing technologies. So unless the seeds of the varieties are available to the farmer, there's no use. So ICAR has started seed production system, and seed hubs were created for pulses, oil seeds, and millets. So SAUs, ICRs, and KVKs, they are all coordinating with that. So seed production is also taken care. And another important thing, land use maps and soil survey, because land use maps is very important for planning purposes. So it has been prepared throughout the country. They call it the soil resource map for the country, 1:1 million scale, states, and different scales they prepare it. And soil degradation map. You should know that which soils are suitable for what crop, how much the soil is degraded, and the erosion maps. Everything is been prepared and depicted like like this. So by seeing this, any planner can see which crop can be grown in a particular area, or how to improve the soil conditions or water. Even soil erosion map was prepared. Like similarly, watershed maps can be prepared. So all the data has been used, collated, and the maps were prepared so that it will help the planners, policymakers to take appropriate decisions. In this regard, soil health card. So the International Year of Soil was celebrated in 2015, and the same year the unique program of soil health card was launched. From 2015 to 17, around 11 crore soil health cards were distributed. The phase 2, 17-19, around say 12 crores of soil health card being distributed. So the soil health card contains the important information about its nutritional status. So based on that, the advice of the certified agriculture officers or scientists, they can tell how much nutrient to provide for growing a particular crop. So this is aimed at using the resources optimally and avoid overuse of fertilizers, and same time underuse of fertilizers. So this is an ambitious project that was started by me. All the data about the soil health card is available in the website on the real-time basis. Any farmer has given soil or any panchayat has given, they can check online their status. Everything is available. So when I come to the important section of agriculture, the animal husbandry and milk revolution. In 50s and 60s, India was a milk deficient nation, and it was importing milk and milk powder. And many of the countries, Western countries, they refused to provide technology to produce this milk powder and processing. So during that time, only Operation Flood was launched, and to expand dairy cooperatives and infrastructure development. With sustained efforts and technological developments, India's dairy industry is growing steadily, well above the global average. See, you can see the per capita milk availability is 394 grams per day in 1890, which is much more higher than the world average. World is having around 300 grams, and we are having 400 grams. So these are all possible because of the Operation Flood project initiated by everyone knows Korean, and with the appropriate support by the government of India. So animal husbandry, mostly the research was concentrated on cattle, buffaloes, goat, sheep, camel, pig, horse, donkey, poultry, duck. Basic research and strategy research has been conducted on animal genetics, breeding, nutrition, physiology, reproduction, health, and product technology. So one of the important things is the germplasm conservation and improvement, livestock nutrition, preventive healthcare, vaccine production, and handling emerging diseases, and milk and meat production development. Uh, Considering the livestock germplasm, the natural India is host to many livestock species. So the natural home tracts, using in the natural home tracts only, they were identified almost 197 breeds, and it was recently notified in the Gazette of India, which includes 50 breeds of cattle, 17 breeds of buffalo, 34 breeds of goats, 44 breeds of sheep, 9 breeds of camel, 7 breeds of horses, 19 breeds of chicken, 3 breeds of dog. And latest technologies like preservation in the embryo and all has been semen and DNA and all preserved. Why I'm telling is now everyone knows that the germplasm is very important, and that to animal germplasm. Very good breeds were taken out of India, and we are not able to get them back. So, and they got all IP protection for that. So that is the reason this work has been taken up to register and preserve all the. See, this is a cataloging was done. Cattle breeds, buffalo breeds, sheep breeds, and goat breeds. So this is a humongous work, and it has been done. And genetic improvement of cattle and buffalo is taken up by using sometimes a crossbred or increasing the native bred. And in fact, even the biotechnological approach, like two buffalo calves were cloned successfully. I think one was dead after the few days, and the second one named, I think, Garima, so that is successfully cloned. So technology has grown a lot, so it's all ready, but there are other issues, regulatory issues and all, to be taken care to bring the technology to the fruition. And vaccines and diagnostics. See, animals like humans, they get diseases. So there are vaccines, diagnostic techniques have been developed for different viral diseases. The list I just mentioned, like avian influenza virus, pox vaccine, and vaccine for poultry, classical swine fever. These are different categories of vaccines were developed. And in DBT supported, there are many vaccines, especially in animal science. The biotechnology is used for development of vaccines and diagnostic kits. So it is improving, and there are many things were already commercialized. When you come to the blue revolution or fisheries, the blue revolution made India as the second largest fish producing country in the world. Fish production at the commercial scale, breeding and seed production are important activities. Some genetically even improved fish, the rohu called Jayanti rohu, it has a 17% highest growth rate per generation was developed. And fisheries, there are products were developed like nutraceuticals from seaweed that fishery institute they developed, and other cultivation like a marine cage culture, biofloc culture. There are many techniques they developed so that fish production can be enhanced not only in the marine side, even in the inland fisheries. Another thing, a mechanization, because the people who involved in agriculture are coming, reducing every year. So it's very difficult to get labor for everything. So mechanization is important. So farm implements, machines were developed by the agriculture system, and which saves time, labor, reduced drudgery, cut down production cost, reduce post-harvest losses. Some cases, a precision machinery has been developed for efficient agriculture operations in irrigated, rain-fed agriculture, horticulture, and livestock fishery production. Most of the machineries are fuel efficient, designed to meet our social and environment conditions. Like smaller India, lot of farmers are very small size farmers, so different terrains like coastal, hill area, watery. So it's all, so many machines have been developed. Just to even we used conventional, non-conventional energy sources like solar is used for pumping the water. ICAR developed 200 technologies and implements machines about and 23,000 prototypes. And in fact, there is something called a happy seeder, which was used to due to North Indian conditions to sow the crop in residue things, so it reduces the burning of crop residue. I think that there's some data saying that in 2016 it was 1,27,000 burning incidents, but after introduction of this thing, 61,000, so about 50% reduction was there after using this implement. So really, it makes a lot of changes. Then information and communication technologies in agriculture. So most of the agriculture institute, they vigorously pursued the deployment of digital platforms in agriculture. More than 180 mobile apps been developed because every farmer is having a mobile app. So even the advisories, communication, discussion, everything happens through this app. And KVKs are providing agro advisories and other services to the farmers through the mobile app. So these technologies also being used. At institutional level, there's a portal called Krishi. There in the dashboard, you can see everything, how many technologies, in which sites, and all the informations will be available on the click. So what are all the patents, which patent, what is the information, what publications, what extension activities carried. So it's in a single place. So all the details can be accessed by any public or government to know what is going on in agriculture. There are one or two case studies. I'll just say that one is Basmati 1121 rice, which was released in 2003. So it is a better variety compared to the traditional Basmati varieties. So it produces extra long cylinder grains, and it an average yield of 4 tons compared to 2.5 tons of traditional Basmati varieties. So they have calculated in the export earnings, and it arrived that export earnings were increased around six-fold, which is around 5,500 crores in 2006-7 to 32,000 crores in 18-19 after the introduction of varieties. So this is the impact in the large scale they have shown. Another important is the wheat variety, HD2967. It's a semi-dwarf variety. It was released in northwestern plains and northeastern plain zones. Average yield was 5 tonnes, 5 tonnes in one zone, and in another zone it's 4.4 tonnes. So the economic surplus generated from growing these varieties is estimated to be 62,000 crores during the 8 years of period. So definitely a particular variety along with inputs, proper technology backup, definitely it can make a real change in agriculture. The another one is the pomegranate on variety called Bagua variety. That is the major variety grown throughout India, and it is an exported one. So they said the export earning increased 21 crores from 10,000 metric tons in 2003-4, and it has become now 688 crores. So you can imagine how much technology can change the fortune of the farmers. Another one is the cotton production. Till the introduction of BT cotton, the cotton production was less. You can see that in 2003 it was commercialized, so you can see the increase in production. So the technology really matters. So once the technologies are developed and things were set, and somebody has to take up. So the research institutes or the national system cannot take. In that thing only, there are nowadays agri-business incubators were started. They give the startups. There's a compilation of around 100 entrepreneurs, and they are taken the technologies or other support of these bio-incubators, and they are doing very good business. So this is another avenue to promote agriculture. So these are some of the, even the president, some of the entrepreneurs met president and they got award. And there is a commercialization arm called Agri Innovate was it's a separately a kind of a corporation type was developed by ICAR. So here all technologies which are all available for commercialization will be put here. So whoever the entrepreneur is having interest, they can approach, and there will be a fees, everything will be discussed, and the technology will be transferred. So this is another innovation to take the technologies which are developed in the institutes to the farming community or the business world. So with now we have seen all the things of what the technological advances have done to our agriculture. We are from the begging bowl to now exporting the food level we have come. So now year after what to do that? What is the way forward? What we can do it? So this is the graph. I just want to draw an attention here. See, there are the income component from different sources in agriculture. You can see this color, this orange color is the income from net receipt from crop cultivation. It is completely, slowly, it is shrinking. But at the same time, the component from animal husbandry is increasing. And the income from labor, with the wages is slightly increasing. So this is a concern, that one. So that so they change the scope for animal husbandry. And here you can see the production increase in wheat and rice. These two is very, very high. Even sorghum over the years, means in the decades, it has come down. Pearl millet, slight increase is there. Finger millet, it's stagnant. Small millets reducing. Maize increasing. Barley reducing. Coarse grains is increasing. Pulses almost constant. So it shows our in the last 75 years, the importance much was given to rice and wheat. And there are other millets like small millets, pulses. There are a lot of scope to increase because their production for all the decades are almost stagnant. And per capita availability of food grain, you can see that overall it's increased. But the blue one, the rice, it's almost after 70s, like after the green revolution, per capita availability of rice is remained constant. Wheat is increasing, but other cereals, per capita availability of cereals is coming down. And pulses, I said that's not much, a slight increase is there nowadays. So these two areas, like pulses and other cereals, may require quite a lot of attention to. Means it may require attention to, which was given for rice and wheat. Yes, I just 1 or 2 slides I'll complete. Yeah, FAO said food security is very important, and in its report it says around 189 million people are undernourished in India. So if your people are undernourished, as we already discussed, the biofortified crops and consumption of minor cereals, pulses, and fruits and vegetables, that would be a area of you should concentrate. So biofortified crops to be promoted, minor cereals, pulses, fruits and vegetables should be the year after, it should be the prime importance. And integrated farming with animal husbandry and fisheries, because we have already seen in the data the component of crop is coming down. The income from the component of crop is coming down, and there this animal husbandry and fisheries can be profitable to the farm. And research reorientation now demands greater trust or innovation to bridge the knowledge and technology gaps to address supply chain management in agriculture, because there's a lot of gaps are there, so that has to be taken care. Enhancing public expenditure on agriculture research, education, processing, market infrastructure, and intelligence. And other technologies like precision agriculture, e-extension, basically use all the latest technologies for better information, so that the price and the prediction will be very correct. That is about the research aspects. The policy aspects, of course, we don't discuss much. I just leave it to the public. And this is my last one slide. See, here this graph is a little bit interesting. You can see 4 countries in Asia: Bangladesh, China, India, and Pakistan. Around 90 up to 1994 or 90 to 94, all were growing per capita income. So all per capita income of all the 4 countries was same, almost same. There's not much difference. So during this period, 91 to 96, only the economic reforms have been started. So this is the period economic reform started. After the reforms, every country is followed a different path. you can see the increase in per capita income of China. It is going skyrocketing. But other three countries, they are not much different. Even in India, it is not a very satisfactory growth. So the lesson here is that during the economic reforms, China started its economic reforms by agriculture reforms. So till now, the India has been postponing its agriculture reforms, and for achieving its the dream of becoming a manufacturing-led economy, it needs to leverage the purchasing power of our rural people and work towards augmenting rural income through investment in infrastructure, education, skill, and health is a key step to achieve higher productivity. Besides investing higher in the agriculture R&D. So our reforms in agriculture sector is very, very important. That is the takeaway. And I thank all the materials which I took it from ICAR, SAUs, DBT, Ministry of Agriculture, and other online sources. And this image to acknowledge the importance of agriculture development in the country. In 2018 Republic Day, ICAR put the stably. Thank you very much. Thank you one and all for your patient hearings. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions?
Hello,
Yes, you can hear me. Hello.
participants, please ask question. Elaine, any question are there from offline people,
No, sir.
offline
No,
students?
no, sir. No. Oh, Mansi, you can unmute and ask your question.
Yes. Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to ask about the current status of monoculture of cash crops in India.
What cash crops?
Sir, monoculture of cash crops in India. Because we know that monoculture is harmful for the biodiversity, but because of economics, we tend to go towards monoculture. So I just wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, monoculture, that is what I'm saying. Monoculture was inevitable during Green Revolution because everywhere paddy was grown, paddy, wheat was grown, wheat. So that's what always we recommend a crop diversification or crop rotation at least. So it's advisable to go for a crop rotation. It's not advisable to go for a monocrop. It may help in a short time, but in long time, see, we are facing a soil salinity in northern India where monoculture of wheat was taken up. But it all depends on many factors, suitable policies, and a lot of extension work to convince the farmers. Yeah.
Coming.
Yeah. Is that okay? What I'm asking because it's inevitable, but we have to try to do a lot.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from the audience?
Elaine, any question from
No,
offline
no,
participants?
sir. No, sir. No questions.
Okay, okay. Then we can proceed.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving your time.
Yeah, Komal, please take over.
Yes, ma'am. So on the behalf of IIC, I would like to profusely thank Dr. R. Ramesh, Principal Scientist, ICAR CCARI, Goa, for this interesting session. The talk was really intriguing, where Sir shed light on the status of Indian agriculture, starting from the time of independence up to the recent times. Sir spoke about various landmarks achieved in the field of agriculture, such as Green Revolution, White Revolution, Blue Revolution, among others. Sir also talked about the development and current status of agricultural research in the country, and also progress made in the agricultural research and how it has aided the farmers as well as the general population. We are very thankful, sir, for this engaging session. Thank you so much. And I would also like to thank Professor Sandeep Garg, Director of DI3P, as well as the faculty coordinator of the session, Dr. Elaine Dias. Furthermore, I would also like to extend a big thank you to participants. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I thank you, the organizers, for giving me the opportunity to share that whatever the agriculture innovations during the past 75 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, sir. May I leave now? It's okay?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.